A customer told me one of his accounts had been dead for 11 days before anyone on his team noticed. It still logged in fine, the dashboard loaded, the scheduler accepted posts, and on his side, every post showed as published. None of them reached a single person. 11 days of somebody's salary going into a hole. That is the version of a flag nobody pictures. When people imagine getting flagged, they imagine a red banner and a locked door. I run mobile proxy lines on real carrier SIMs and a rack of Android phones rented out as cloud phones out of Singapore. My customers are teams running large fleets of accounts, so I hear about flags most weeks on platforms I do not personally use. Everyone with a fleet gets flagged eventually. What separates the people who lose one account from the people who lose 10 is whether they read the flag correctly in the first day. 4 states that all get called the same thing. The first is a soft restriction. The account works. It just quietly stops producing. Reach drops, actions go through slower, some of them silently do not go through at all. Nothing tells you. The interface is completely normal. The second is a review hold. The account is frozen, or partly frozen, and it is sitting in a queue waiting for a person or a second layer of automation to look at it. Sometimes a document request is attached. Sometimes there is one sentence saying the account is under review and nothing else. The third is a feature limit. One part of the product is switched off and the rest keeps working. You can post but you cannot message. You can message but you cannot link out. You can log in but you cannot withdraw. People read this as the whole account being in trouble when it is one specific capability that got pulled. The fourth is termination. The account is gone and usually the login goes with it. And these 4 get treated as one thing because the language on screen is nearly identical for all of them. Unusual activity, temporarily limited, we are reviewing your account. Verify it is you. 4 different states on the back end, 4 sentences that sound the same to a person reading them at 11 at night. Ni tayo UDP the seed that is now new internet. The middle states are the expensive ones. Termination is at least honest. It hurts, and you know within a minute exactly where you stand, and you can stop spending money on it that day. The soft restriction and the feature limit are the ones that quietly cost the most, because everything looks fine and the work keeps happening. The person running the account keeps posting. The automation keeps firing on schedule. Your monthly proxy bill keeps going out, and none of it is landing anywhere. The only way to catch these is to stop trusting the interface and start checking the output. Does the post actually appear when you look at it logged out from another device the way a stranger would see it? Did the message get delivered, or does it just sit there looking sent? Does the link resolve for someone who is not you? The check takes 2 minutes a day per account. It is the whole difference between finding a soft restriction on day 1 and finding it on day 11. What an appeal actually is. The mental model most people carry is that an appeal is a letter to a person. You explain yourself, the person reads it, the person decides. What it usually is, a form that drops your account into a queue, where a classifier looks at the account history first, and a human, if one is involved at all, gets a short window and a decision template, which is why the reply is almost always a template. We have reviewed your account and found it in violation of our policies. That sentence tells you nothing about whether anyone read your words. It usually means the account history did not clear whatever bar was set, and your explanation never really entered into it. A template response is the normal outcome. It does not mean you were singled out, and it does not mean you wrote a bad appeal. Mikofan short appeal looks like, short and factual. What the account is for, who runs it, what happened in plain terms, and whatever documentation the platform already asked you for, attached the first time instead of promised. For plan eventeni course, that in later daily, if the flow asked for an identity document or a business registration or an invoice, the appeal that includes it lands in a different pile from the appeal that says you can provide it on request. What does not help? A long story. An emotional account of how much the account means to you. A legal threat, an accusation that their system is broken. A paragraph explaining how you think detection works. Reviewers see hundreds of these a day and length reads as noise, and do not write anything the account's own history contradicts. Whoever or whatever is reading your appeal has the logs open in the next window. A claim that does not match the logs is worse than saying nothing at all. Filing again and again, the second appeal is where most people do the real damage. Nothing happens for 4 days, so they file again. Still nothing, so they file from a different angle. Then they find a support email somewhere, then a social media account, then a form meant for something else entirely. From the platform side, that is a pattern with a name, and it is not a name you want attached to your account. Repeat contact from the same account in bursts across multiple channels is what pressure campaigns and automated appeal tools look like. Some systems collapse the duplicates and put you at the back of the queue. Some close the whole thread as resolved. One appeal, then wait the stated window, and if no window is stated, wait a week. The discipline is boring and it is correct. Anamthen. The reflex that destroys your own evidence. Here is what almost everyone does inside the first hour, and it is the most damaging reflex in this whole subject. They change everything. New IP, because maybe it was the IP. New browser profile, because maybe it was the fingerprint. Clear the cookies, reinstall the app. New phone number on the account, new recovery email, new payment method, all of it in one afternoon. Think about how that reads from the other side. An account gets restricted, and immediately every identifying attribute attached to it changes at once. That is a textbook description of evasion, whatever actually happened. Honest mistake or not, you have just made yourself indistinguishable from somebody covering their tracks, and you have destroyed your own evidence. 6 weeks later, the review comes back asking a specific question about the device or the network that account was on, and you cannot answer it, because that environment does not exist anymore. You deleted it in the first hour, trying to help. Leave it alone. A stable environment that has not changed since before the flag is the most useful thing you own at that point. Day 1. So what do you actually do? First, stop touching the account. No repeated logins to see if it is back. No logging in from your phone to double check. No switching networks to test whether it is only that connection. Every login after a flag is a new event in the same history somebody may be about to read. Second, export what you can while you still can. This is the step people skip and regret. On a lot of platforms, the data export tool keeps working through a soft restriction and through a review hold, and stops working at termination. Contacts, message history, posted content, invoices, whatever the platform will hand you. Get it out during the window where it will still hand it over. Third, write down what changed in the days before, from your own records rather than memory. A new device, a new proxy, a new team member with access, a jump in posting volume, an automation you switched on, a bulk action somebody ran on a Friday afternoon. You are hunting for the specific change, and memory drifts in exactly the direction that makes you feel better about it. Fourth, work out whether this is one account's problem or a shared one. If the flagged account shares a phone number, a payment method, a recovery address, or an exit IP with 5 others, you have a scoping question on your hands, and the answer changes what you do next for the whole batch. That is day 1. Notice how little of it involves the account itself. The part I got wrong. For about 2 years, I gave people the opposite advice on rebuilding, and I gave it confidently. When an account of mine got restricted, I would have it moved within a day. New line, new profile, fresh environment, clean slate. I thought I was being responsive, and I thought a clean environment would read better than a dirty one. Then a review came back on one of them, weeks later, asking about the device and the connection that account had been using in a specific week. I could not answer honestly, because none of it existed anymore. I had thrown out the only thing that would have shown a boring, unremarkable, consistent history. Worse, I had done the same fast rebuild across a batch, so a handful of accounts all changed their entire environment on the same afternoon. I turned one account's problem into a synchronized pattern across several of them. That one is on me, and it cost me more accounts than the original flag did. Now I freeze. The account stays exactly where it is until the platform is finished with it, and when I do rebuild, I rebuild one at a time, spaced out on separate infrastructure. The honest bit about recovery, most accounts that reach a review hold do not come back. I'm not going to give you a percentage because I do not have a clean enough sample to give you one, and anyone quoting you a recovery rate off the top of their head is selling you something. What I see is that the accounts which do come back are usually the ones with something real behind them. A registered business, an invoice trail, an identity that matches, a history that is boring in the right way. An account with nothing behind it and 3 months of thin activity has very little to argue with, so a flag is mostly decided before it lands. By the time you are reading the notice, the thing that determines the outcome is already sitting in the account's history. The boring work, which is why the real work is the unglamorous preparation you do months earlier, when nothing is wrong. Documentation first. One row per account, what it is for, who has access, which email and phone number it uses, which payment method, which IP or device it runs on, and what it has actually been doing. When a flag lands, you want that row in front of you in 30 seconds rather than reconstructed from 4 people's memories. Separated resources second. Every account with its own recovery email, its own number, its own exit. This is expensive, and it is annoying, and it is the only thing that keeps a single flag from becoming a batch event. And no single shared dependency sitting underneath the whole fleet. One payment method, funding 20 accounts. One recovery address on all of them. One IP carrying the lot. Any one of those turns one bad day into a very bad month. None of this is a recovery method. It is what makes an account survivable, and it is the only part of this you control. I run these farms myself, so when I point at a proxy or a cloud phone, it is the one I actually pay for every month. The checklist, the documentation template, the rest of it, everything is at multiaccountops.com. Subscribe for more on keeping a fleet of accounts alive.